He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Palais Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of 365 Sports here in beautiful New York City. Welcome on in to a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. Make sure you give us a follow on the good old cesspool of Twitter or on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. You could also get at me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. And make sure, if you're listening to us right now live and watching us on YouTube, or if you are consuming us after our show airs Monday through Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, please go to youtube.com/@365sportsyt, youtube.com/@365sportsyt. Subscribe. That's how you can continue to support what we're doing here with the 365 Sports family. Matthew Coller, who covers the Minnesota Vikings, he's going to stop by coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time today. The Arizona Cardinals have released Kyler Murray, and that will be official on March 11th. And we will see where Kyler Murray will sign and who his new team will be. Could it be Minnesota? Could it be the New York Jets? Could it be the Atlanta Falcons? Could it be the Cleveland Browns? Or even the Miami Dolphins? Just some of the teams that have been speculated. We will get to that in just a bit. But I told you one of the more interesting teams this NFL offseason was going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm wondering what they're going to do this offseason to get them back into the mix, where they're not just resting on their laurels. They're not just resting on Patrick Mahomes. They're not just resting on Andy Reid. What are they going to do that's going to be wow, splash, like huge move that gets them back into being a Super Bowl contender? And when you say that, you think that they would be aggressive. You think that they would be trading away draft capital to acquire more players to enhance this group in Kansas City that's been very successful, that's already seen Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce as a trio win 3 Super Bowls together. Well, this wasn't on my bingo card. We have speculated all players that could be traded, A.J. Brown, Max Crosby, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, just to name a few. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are trading a 2-time All-Pro cornerback in Trent McDuffie. And they're trading him to a team that is once again in F them picks mode and is once again all in to try to win another Lombardi, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams are getting Trent McDuffie. The Chiefs, in return, are getting one of the Rams' first-round picks. This is going to be number 29th overall. Remember, the Rams are picking, I believe, also 13th in the first round, and they got 2 first-round picks because they made a trade with the Atlanta Falcons last year, where the Falcons moved up into the first round to go get an edge rusher, and the Chiefs ended up getting, or the Rams ended up getting, an additional first-round pick. So the Rams still have another first-round pick. They are trading their other first-round pick, which is number 29th overall, to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are also getting a 5th-round pick this year, a 6th-round pick this year, and then a 2027 3rd-round pick. That's a win for the Rams. And this is a loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand the Chiefs get a first-round pick and then some back for Trent McDuffie, but the goal with Patrick Mahomes is to try to win as many Super Bowls as possible. And even if there's a contract dynamic at play, Trent McDuffie has had a really good first few years in the NFL, and he's a 2-time All-Pro. You're subtracting, not adding. And the Chiefs should be aggressively in adding mode, not subtracting. So I look at this move today. I applaud the LA Rams. I think it's a brilliant move by the LA Rams. I don't think the LA Rams should stop there, by the way. The Rams need to be back in F them picks mode. This is the start of it. Last time they did this, it led to a Super Bowl. If I'm LA, I'm picking up the phone today. I'm talking to the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm saying, we already traded 1 first-round pick. Let's have no first-round picks. We'll give you 13 overall and then some to go acquire Max Crosby. And imagine if you look at this Rams defense come week 1, if you could have Max Crosby, Trent McDuffie, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and you got Turner and Young and Quinn Lake. Like, look at that defense. Hello. That would be a super defense that could lead to a Super Bowl again, as the LA Rams already won a Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium, and the Super Bowl this year is once again at SoFi Stadium. Plus, you're going to have Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I would just keep on being aggressive. That's what I would do if I'm Les Snead. This is a nice start. Hats off to you. Salute to you, Les Snead, for getting Trent McDuffie. Now go use that other first-round pick and some other capital to go land Max Crosby. That was my take when I saw this move earlier today. Now, let's keep it moving. And let's get into Kyler Murray, because that news did come down yesterday, right after we got off the air. I think we logged off right at 3:53 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, and usually we're off by 3:50. So we were working 3 minutes extra overtime. And then I kid you not, 3 minutes after that, I think it was at like 3:56 p.m. Eastern time, we got the news that Kyler Murray has been released, or is in the process of getting released by the Arizona Cardinals. And it's not this is not unexpected. This is not, oh my goodness gracious, I can't believe what I just saw. Everyone knew that this was a possibility. Was there some sort of chance that Kyler could have got traded for a 4th or a 5th or a 6th round pick? Yes. But I think that would have been complicated. I'm not sure about the Kyler contract, but if Kyler's going to have a bad attitude and he doesn't want to go somewhere, I'm not sure if there's no trade clause or not. But if Kyler didn't want to go somewhere, then that could complicate it. And plus, you'd have to figure out the contract and how much the Cardinals would pick up. It is easiest, the Cardinals knowing they didn't want Kyler Murray back, just to outright release him. And this is what Kyler wanted, and this is what Kyler got. By the way, I'll bring up my producer, Garrett Ross, real quickly. You're a bad man, by the way.
Why is that?
Well, do me a favor. Can you keep your microphone on?
Yes.
But put me on a one shot, and then I'll bring you back in. Look at this graphic that you just made.
What about it?
Look at little Kyler Murray right there.
It's life size. I thought it was life size.
Look, Kyler could fit in the palm of my hand.
He could fit in the palm of your hand in real life.
Look at Kyler. Too small. Kyler Murray, too small. Good Kyler. You're cracking me up with this graphic today.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to bring some joy.
God. So you're no one's surprised that Kyler Murray ends up getting released. If I had to say Garrett Ross on the 4th day of March in the year of 2026, with the new league year about to commence at the end of next week, where is Kyler Murray signing?
If I'm him, I'm going to Minnesota. I'm doing everything I can to get to Minnesota, in my opinion. You're in a dome. You have great offensive weapons around you. Why not?
So Kyler Murray would be going to Minnesota.
Let's find out.
So I agree with you. I think that is the best destination for him. And when Matthew Coller will join us, I'm going to be curious what he has to say. Doesn't it seem, Garrett, that every other day, the Vikings' interest level in Kyler Murray from reporters just seems to be all over? Like, one day they're in. Yeah. One day they're not in. One day it's like tier 1 and he's in it. Then other days, no, it's a secondary option. It does seem, though, in the last 24 hours, since the news has come down, and we're zeroing in on this being 24 hours old, that since it's come down, that there is interest in the Vikings, and clearly there's always interest in Kyler Murray. Like, if you're telling me the options for Kyler Murray are the Jets, the Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Minnesota Vikings, Kyler would be foolish, right? As I'm just giving advice to Kyler. He just a little bit, Kyler. Let me whisper to you, Kyler. Hey, Kyler, how you doing? He'd be foolish to not want to go to the Vikings,
right?
So we knew the interest was there with him. Now, with how it keeps on seeming to vacillate on the Vikings being really interested. They're mildly interested. It may not be a fit. Trying to search through and figure out what the reality there is, but it does feel in these last 24 hours that the pendulum has swung back into the Vikings being interested. And if the Vikings are interested, then this should be a very easy decision for Kyler Murray.
No, it really should. I think I'm not really surprised about the distractions or the confusion on the talk about Kyler, because I think at this point in time, you're putting any information out there you possibly can, if you're the Vikings or whatever team is truly interested in him, to try to see what kind of trades you could force or whatever situations that could unfold. So I'm not really surprised to see the misinformation out there about it, though. But when you look at the fits and everything, to me, it makes the most sense. You put him up there. I think Atlanta's interesting. I don't think that he could necessarily go there and have the success he could have if he went to Minnesota. But that's another situation where it could work.
I could actually argue.
Go for it.
That if he goes to Atlanta, I still believe Minnesota is the best destination because you got Kevin O'Connell and you also have Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
But I could argue he could actually be more successful in Atlanta.
Okay.
Stefanski's no slouch. I know Cleveland Browns fans don't like him anymore, but, that's just ridiculous. He's a 2-time Coach of the Year award winner in freaking Cleveland, for crying out loud. But then you also have Bijan Robinson. Mm-hmm. You also play in a dome, and I know Minnesota does as well. And it's not like Drake London is this bad wide receiver. Drake London's really damn good. He's not Jetta's, but he's really damn good. And Kyle Pitts is on the franchise tag. And here's the biggest argument. He's playing in the NFC South if he goes to Atlanta.
There you go.
Like, who are you really concerned about in the NFC South? The Bucs run seems like it's come and gone. The Carolina Panthers, man, you'd have two little quarterbacks in the division with my guy Kyler Murray and Bryce Young. And for people that are just listening to this in podcast form, Garrett put a graphic out there of Kyler Murray right in the middle of the screen. And I have large hands as a 6'4" man. And anytime I pick up my hand, it looks like I'm patting Kyler Murray on the head as Kyler is really small in real life, but he's even smaller on this graphic. So I'm looking at it. If you see inside this NFC South, who is really the team? Like the Saints? I know Tyler
Shuck. Got to go to the Saints, in my opinion.
Say it again.
I think you have to lean Saints in my
to win that division right now.
I mean, I think they're, to me, not necessarily win it, but to me, I think they're I think they're kind of the front runner.
Oh man, that's a take.
I could be totally wrong.
Well, let's be real. You could put a dartboard up of the 4 teams in that division, and you could have 4 like a circle, and put 25% Saints, 25% Panthers, 25% with the Falcons, and then who am I missing? Saints,
Bucs.
Panthers, Falcons, and Bucs. Yeah. You could put those 4 teams, 25% on a dartboard. We could blindfold you, Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have you throw a dart, and that would be the division. Wherever that dart lands blindfolded, you'd have a great chance of picking the winner there.
You would.
Like, look at this year. Tampa Bay, at the end of the season, won a football game, but because of the tiebreaker, they didn't get in, and Carolina got in. Atlanta was a disaster. They still finished with 8 wins. And the Saints were, 2-11 at one point, 2-10? And they finished with 6 wins. Yeah. So I understand, and I even said this to Nowak when he was on with us. Mm-hmm. I said, it wouldn't shock me if a trendy pick over the summer ends up being the Saints winning the division, just like you said, because Shuck people could believe in with what he did down the stretch. And you have a second-year coach then in Kellen Moore. The division stinks because I've done this prediction game long enough. Predictions, sometimes the listeners take predictions more seriously than the host does. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, I'm not going to give you a prediction that is disingenuous, but when you have to pick every single division winner, or when you have to pick every single playoff team, it does get a little boring if you're just going chalk, 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 chalk. So a division like the NFC South allows you to not go chalk. But if Kyler winds up with the Falcons, I don't think it's a bad deal. Penix isn't ready to go by week 1. I think Kyler's a better quarterback than Michael Penix Jr. You're in a dog crap division, and you got playmakers there, and it would be fun to see the speed of Kyler, Bijan, Pitts, and Drake London. So if I was Kyler, I would still prefer to go to Minnesota. But if the Vikings go, hey, we're interested in Rodgers, we're going to get that to happen. If the Vikings go, we'd rather go with a different project, I don't think they go to, Anthony Richardson, I guess, could be in play. But if the quarterback room is Anthony Richardson and J.J. McCarthy, P.U., that's stinky. Stinky, 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 stinky. Would they maybe be interested in Derek Carr? I would rather have Kyler Murray or Aaron Rodgers than Derek Carr. Sizzle, I know, hot take of the day. But I look at a destination for Kyler where Minnesota would be preferred. But if Minnesota, and this is the other part of it, Garrett, Minnesota with Kyler, the other thing that people are going to Kyler's have to ask, how much is money going to matter here? Like, he just got this enormous deal. If he's going to Minnesota, I don't know what it would look like. Could it be 1 year? Would he sign the league minimum? Is he maybe looking for $10 million? Is he looking for a long-term contract? Because if you're going to teams like the Jets, the Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, I think for Kyler to go there, and the only reason why Kyler would go there would be because it's a multi-year deal.
Right.
If he's going to Minnesota, or if he's going to the Atlanta Falcons, I think it's on a year deal. So for Kyler, that's the interesting part here. Is he in the mindset of doing what's best for his career and turning the narrative around about him? Because then that would mean go to Minnesota on a 1 year, $1.5 million deal, like 1 year 5, 1 year 10, whatever it is. Or if Minnesota rejects you, then go to Atlanta. But if you're going to a place like the Browns, the Dolphins, the Jets, and I don't think the Jets are a horrible destination. Like, if I'm the Jets, I would be actively pursuing Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Jets fans that I follow, and a lot of Jets fans interact with me here living in New York. They're like, oh, no, Kyler, no, we don't want Kyler. Okay, I can understand maybe being a little apprehensive having to give him a 2 or 3 year deal. I get that. And maybe Jets fans are just in the line of thinking, I don't think they want Ty Simpson at 16, but they have 3 first-round picks next year. So maybe they're in that line of thinking. Like, I could understand it would have been more attractive to trade for Kyler on a negotiated rate on his contract, because then you could have just got off of him after 1 year if he doesn't play well. But if you go sign Kyler to a 2 or 3 year deal, that could complicate things a little bit down the road if Kyler is not successful next year. But I look at this, Garrett. I really think for him, if and it depends on what he wants, but if he's looking to actually be a good quarterback in this league and not just make the most money that you want, and if that's the way you want to approach it in this lethal game, I'm not going to crush him. But I'm not going to take Kyler seriously if he winds up with the Dolphins or if he winds up with the Browns. And, the Dolphins, you at least got Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. But you're quarterback 3 in that division. You're behind Drake May. You're behind Josh Allen. The Dolphins rotate through quarterbacks like a 2-year-old rotates through a diaper. They change all the time. So if Kyler is serious about turning his career around and not just taking the biggest bag of cash that may not lead to him having actual success, we'll have more financial success, but not on the field success, then I would seriously just consider the Vikings and the Falcons out of the realistic options that we think are out there.
I mean, that's my approach anyway that I would do if I was him. Like, I would narrow it down to like the 3 destinations that – because to me, like, we've never seen quarterbacks truly have success like with the Jets or Cleveland. I know a lot of that goes into the stadiums. And I think the Jets, that's more so nonsense because we've seen Giants quarterbacks have success with them sharing the same stadium. But like we've seen like quarterbacks go to Cleveland or Chicago and struggle. If I'm him, I want to stay indoors. I don't know like what his mindset is. I don't know if I trust him to say that he wants to make the best decision to be the best quarterback because I never really knew how serious he was at playing quarterback in the NFL. Like, I know he wanted to do it and he was good at it, but I don't think he's ever truly locked in and like wanted to go balls to the wall as being the most elite quarterback that he could be. So I don't know if I would be willing to take that step with him.
I think the decision really got to him, baseball or football.
Oh, it definitely did.
Because I remember being at the Heisman and talking to Kyler, and the answers on baseball or football were just bizarre. And everyone knew he was picking football, but he didn't want to say it. And if memory serves me right, he had a really weird encounter, a really weird interview with the Dan Patrick Show. And then you hear about things about the work commitment and the lack of it. You hear even when they signed this new contract with the Cardinals, he had to reportedly watch a certain amount of film that they wanted it to monitor. And that's been something that's been out there for a while. And I can't get into who the two players were, but I had two players that Cardinals fans would know very well, very well, no longer a part of the team, that have not talked all that positively about Kyler Murray. Now, they didn't say these things on the air,
right?
But when I've talked to both of those players off the air, that's when you could tell they were protecting the team, and there was a lot of not so nice things said about Kyler Murray. So, and then I've talked to Trey McBride in person.
Yep.
And Trey McBride gave us a totally different perspective. He was gushing over Kyler Murray, and he thought a lot of the narrative was BS. So I guess it depends on whose eyes you're seeing it through. And nothing against Trey. The two people that I've heard this from and that I've talked to, I'm going to trust them a little bit more than Trey McBride when Trey is still attached to the team.
Right.
And quite frankly, he is the face of the organization. And that was the first time Trey and I ever met one another. Where the other two guys, one there's a previous relationship with, the other I've interviewed him a few times, but it's not as if we're sitting there rubbing elbows with one another. So I think that stuff is legitimate, but I don't think any of it is so detrimental where he's not fixable. And there's always going to be there's going to need to be a want to. And for Kyler, we're going to see where his want to level is. But if you go to a place like Minnesota or even Atlanta, which I don't think Atlanta probably nationally would be met well. But I think, like, off the top of my head, I think those are the two best destinations for Kyler Murray. I'll also, Garrett, throw you one here. And this is a little bit of an out-of-the-box take.
Okay.
What happens if the Vikings say, we're signing somebody else? We're not signing Kyler. What happens if the Vikings say, we are going to sign Aaron Rodgers?
Oof.
Then who has a quarterback vacancy? The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah.
You put Kyler with DK Metcalf, Pat Freiermuth, and Mike McCarthy. I know it's outdoors. I know it's the Steel City and the weather's not always great. But you put Kyler with the Steelers, I don't know if it would work, but at least it would be a legitimate plan, and it'd be the first time since the Pittsburgh Steelers saw Big Ben retire where they actually bring in a quarterback, and I could believe it's a long-term plan. Like, Kenny Pickett fell into their laps at the 20th pick of the draft, and they just had to take him.
Yeah.
But we quickly knew that wasn't going to work. Russell Wilson was never going to be a long-term thing. Rodgers is not a long-term thing. I know Kyler up against those defenses in the division could be tough. The Ravens and the Browns, forget about the Bengals. Like, we'll see what they do on defense. But Kyler to the Steelers would not be a horrible destination.
It would be interesting. I think he could have some success there. I think he could get a lot of wins, even probably lead them to the playoffs once or twice. I don't know if that's interesting because I feel like in my mind, I've viewed the Steelers as going into this season knowing that we're probably going to have an average season, and then we're going to have a good high draft pick next year, and then we're going to go up for our quarterback for the future. So I haven't really thought about Kyler going there, but I think he could have some success. I just wouldn't be sold on it personally.
I don't think the Steelers, maybe the Steelers bottom out one year.
Yeah.
But I really think the Steelers are going to remain the same here. They went lateral here. I know Tomlin is perceived to be this much better coach than Mike McCarthy, but it's a very lateral move.
No,
it's two guys. We're in the year of 2026. They could win a shit ton of games, but you never believe that they're going to win a Super Bowl. And both won a Super Bowl in the past. McCarthy actually beat Tomlin. Tomlin then won his Super Bowl, taking care of business up against the Cardinals. But you bring in Mike McCarthy, I kind of think it's going to be very similar to what we saw to Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys, where 3 years he made the playoffs, then 1 year he didn't. Like, yeah, there will eventually be that year where Tomlin never had that 7-win season or that 6-win season. That will eventually happen with Mike McCarthy. But in all likelihood, probably Rodgers is going to be his quarterback next year. And if Rodgers is his quarterback next year, they'll be 9-8. They'll be 10-7 in that range. No one's going to think that they're going to go win a Super Bowl. But if I'm Aaron, like, if you're going to play, what are you playing for? And maybe he wants to do this goodbye send-off and fix that relationship with Mike McCarthy, a guy that has believed in him and a guy that he won a Super Bowl with, and they had a nasty ending at the end. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But it ended okay for Aaron Rodgers last year. The 2 year with the Jets were a disaster. You go to Pittsburgh, you make the playoffs, you lose in the wild card round. You had a solid season. But if you go to Minnesota, I'm not saying you're going to go win a Super Bowl, but it does give you more of a belief, where the Vikings, I think last year, went 9-8 without a quarterback. So if you put Rodgers there, Rodgers' bare minimum is going to be a 2-win improvement, 2 to 3, even in the year of 2026, even with this play not being at an elite level. You put Rodgers with Jefferson and Addison and Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator and O'Connell as the head coach. As someone that doesn't have a dog in a fight, like, I'll ask you this, Garrett. I don't have a dog in a fight. You don't have a dog in a fight.
No.
Who's your NFL team, by the way?
Washington.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately.
And then mine are the Patriots. So truly, no dogs in the fight for either of us here. Would you rather see next year, just objectively watching, Rodgers in Minnesota or Rodgers in Pittsburgh?
Oh, watching. I'd probably rather see him in Pittsburgh because he would have more talent. I mean, no, I'd rather see him in Minnesota because he'd have more talent, but I think he would fit better in Pittsburgh. I think his style, like, I just feel like his vibe fits better in Pittsburgh than it would in Minnesota. But I think I would enjoy watching him play better with the talent he would have with the Vikings.
I don't, like, in a weird way, I kind of think the whole Brett Favre thing is still in his mind. And
I know, yeah, but do you want to do that? Like, do you want to go to after you've already?
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of scummy things allegedly that Brett Favre has done.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just because I was perusing Netflix last night. I was home alone, perusing Netflix, watching a few documentaries, and I watched the tragic documentary about Steve McNair and his passing, which it's crazy what happened to Steve McNair,
that was
by the way.
So wild.
And I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough,
It really
by the way.
doesn't.
Steve McNair got murdered. Like, murdered.
A random chick.
And no one ever talks about it. Like, no one. It's just wild to me.
Yeah.
But then I watched the Favre special with Jen Sturger and that whole scenario that happened with the Jets. And I'm watching it, and I understand, right, Favre, Rodgers didn't have a good relationship in Green Bay. Favre was a jerk to Rodgers because he was intimidated. Mm-hmm. Then Brett goes to the Jets. Then Brett goes to Minnesota. Boom, career's over. Aaron leaves Green Bay, goes to the Jets. All right, in between there's that stop with the Steelers. But when I was watching that documentary last night, it just also brought back up that thought of seeing Rodgers finish his career in Minnesota. And in a weird way, because Brett at the time was so highly thought of when Aaron walked into the locker room, and Favre didn't want to give him that love. Maybe he's kind of chasing what he had, like, kind of when
like
a dad
mocking
is
him in a way.
say it again.
Kind of like mocking him in a way.
Yeah, saying like, "Hey, I did it better than you."
Okay, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, I can
And
see
also, sometimes when someone's not willing to show you love,
that. Yeah,
you almost just want to prove
Spite.
them wrong and say F them.
yeah,
Where like maybe like if a dad didn't show a kid, like gave him a little tough love, and then the dad becomes the enemy, and you're just trying to do things in spite of your dad to one day usurp him and make sure that you get the praise from him.
right.
And Aaron has more MVPs. Aaron won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. Obviously, both of them, it did not work with the New York Jets. And sure, Brett got the Vikings to an NFC Championship game, but then threw the game away with the dumb interception up against the Saints. So I don't know. That's just on my mind. So I'm curious if Matthew Coller joins us, what his answer is going to be. Like, does he think Aaron Rodgers is still in play for the Minnesota Vikings, and Rodgers wants to go there? Or is the line of thinking that it's going to be Kyler Murray to be the next quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings? We do have a poll question up today, and our poll question has to do with Kyler Murray. And for some reason, the poll question went away. Oh, nope, there it is. Where will Kyler Murray be playing next season? Here are the choices: Vikings, Jets, Falcons, and the Cleveland Browns. So you can chime on that. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT is how you could watch us. Make sure you like us when you're watching us, and then also make sure that you subscribe to the channel. So a lot of things on my mind when Matthew Coller is going to join us coming up in 30 minutes. One of the best covering the Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk about the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah firing, how much pressure is on Kevin O'Connell this year, who's going to be the quarterback. Is it Kyler Murray? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Will it be somebody else? But a whole lot on the table. Did I miss any teams there, Garrett? All right, let me just go through this for me. Yes or no? Can you see Kyler Murray in this uniform next year?
Okay.
The Cleveland Browns.
No,
I would agree. Miami Dolphins.
I don't think so.
The New York Jets.
I really don't. No.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, I could see that.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
All right, and then I'll give you the one that I threw out there, just casually floated out there. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't see Kyler in Pittsburgh.
Okay, there we go. Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. We will take a break. When we do return, the top 5 most interesting teams heading into this NFL offseason. I got 5 of them. I'll give them to you next.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. I'm having an issue with Ralph.
With Ralph?
He keeps stealing my lunch.
He's just researching new flavors.
That is slow smoked turkey.
Ralph steals my lunch all the time. You get used to it.
He also peed on my bag.
He is warming up to you. You know, starting a new job, it's a big change. I want you to think about how you can be more accommodating to Ralph. We're all co-owners here.
If I'm only wearing one suit this summer, it has to be Tuileries Performance Linen. It's wrinkle resistant, machine washable, and built with stretch and breathability that actually moves with you. It'll keep you cool, sharp, and stress-free at your next event.
What does being different mean to me? You know, that is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
But love is passion. Something you can't live without. What do you want?
What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Good question in the YouTube chat. JViking74 says, Zach, if Kyler Murray does wind up with the Minnesota Vikings, would he definitely be the week 1 starter? I think he would be the week 1 starter, but I don't think they would announce it right away. I do think that they would make that a quarterback competition. I just don't believe that would be a competition that would be set up for J.J. McCarthy to win. I have a tough time seeing J.J. McCarthy beating on out Kyler Murray. You bring in Anthony Richardson, yeah, J.J. McCarthy could beat him out. If you are signing or trading for Derek Carr, however that would work because of the retirement situation, the Saints still owning his rights, I personally wouldn't do that if I'm the Vikings, but I think that Carr would be the starter. If Rodgers comes in, he is definitely the starter. If Tua comes in, I think that's a competition between J.J. McCarthy and Tua Tagovailoa. So you would bring in Kyler with the intention to start him. I think that you would intend to start him, but since the contract would probably be only 1 year on the cheap, I don't think that you would automatically just outright announce him as the starting quarterback. Are you a little surprised by this, Garrett, with JJ? Just how the sentiment was not necessarily when the season ended, but like they traded for, they made the draft pick of J.J. McCarthy. Year 1, entirely hurt. Yeah. Year 2, not playing that well, also hurt. Are the Vikings making a mistake with how it feels like they're not really trying to give him an opportunity to actually be the starting quarterback for your number 3?
I don't think they are. I mean, I didn't think he was the NFL quarterback coming out of Michigan. I was honestly surprised that they drafted him. So I don't think they're necessarily making a mistake. I think they've had plenty of opportunities to see what he can do. I mean, it's not like I know he's been hurt, but like you've seen flashes in games. You've seen what he can do in practice. You see the work ethic, all of the intangibles that go in it behind the scenes. You're seeing that day in and day out. And if he's showing you that he's not that guy, I don't think it's any detriment to him as a player not giving him a shot this year. That's just my opinion.
Well, put it this way. Look at what the Niners did. They moved mountains to go get Trey Lance.
Right.
And very quickly, they realized he's not that dude.
Exactly.
And they went with Mr. Irrelevant in Brock Purdy. And Brock I'm not going to sit there and say that Brock Purdy is great, but he's pretty awesome. And when he's given an opportunity, he rocks out with his Brock out. Yep. And he's been solid for the San Francisco 49ers. So if they could move off of that decision that quickly,
yep,
I don't think it's ludicrous that what the Vikings are doing, but I am disappointed in it. And it's going to be a very selfish reason why I'm disappointed.
I was going to say, is that the Michigan fan in you?
No, I'll always root for J.J. McCarthy. I thought J.J. was a very good college quarterback. I'm not going to sit there and tell him that he's going to go down in the annals of college quarterbacks and as an all-time great. I'm not stupid here. But I had a few J.J. McCarthy takes that were pro J.J. McCarthy when he got drafted. And even after the year with the injury, they're pro J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
And game recognizes game. And J.J. McCarthy threw me a follow on Twitter. And, I thought that was going to be the start of a blossoming relationship and a friendship. And I thought he was going to go on and have this great, not great, but good NFL career. Right. And he's going to be like, oh, my guy, Zach Gelb. That was a guy that believed in me when a lot of people were just crapping on me. Zach Gelb was believing in me. And I hate to say it because, I could be bought. I'm not going to pretend like I can't be bought. But, JJ's not getting those positive takes out of me, going into 2026. I could only support my mans for so long before I start looking like a fool with my pants on the ground. Remember that? Pants on the ground, pants on the ground. Looking like a fool with the pants on the ground. Haven't heard that in a while. So, yeah. I may not put up all these, anti-McCarthy takes now because I have nothing against JJ, even though I do think his alter ego. But whenever you have quarterbacks that start to go with their alter ego, like Russell Wilson, he lost me. He's like, I'm Mr. Unlimited. And then whatever McCarthy does in the locker room and whatever that alter ego is, that stuff is bizarre.
That's how I was with Jameis. Like when he would do the whole eating the dub and bro, that is
too much.
That is not. Just stop. I want to slap you. Stop.
Yeah, no, it's too much for me. When you speak in the third person as a quarterback, or if you have this alter ego, that's when I say I'm out. And you know what? This is very unpopular. This quarterback is well liked. He's in the media now. Everyone slobbers over this guy. But his personality and the way that he conducted himself, which was like never in a crazy way, but it's when I started to say, like, I'm out on this guy. I don't see the love affair that everybody else has with him. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I knew it was coming.
Everyone loves Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, like, all right, he was a fine quarterback, like nothing special. He was fine. He was a journeyman. But when he's showing up to the press conferences all blinged out, you know, the beard and all that stuff, beard magic, Fitz magic, it was just a little too much for me. And I don't know why. Maybe it makes me a prick. Maybe it makes me a curmudgeon. I don't know. But there's just something where I feel like I wasn't in on the inside joke. Very similarly, by the way, how I felt about Mike McDaniel. And I ended up being right on that one. But the joke is fine in the beginning, but when you tell the same inside joke over and over and over and over again, I'm like, clown, you're just not that funny anymore, clown.
I think the only, I guess you could say it, the alter ego or unique personality that it never really bothered me. I kind of like got into it was Gardner Minshew just being the unique, weird cat that he is, because I think that's authentic. Like that is just so authentic. And I know he's not a great player. He's never expected to be a great player.
I did like Gardner Minshew.
But I do like the Gardner Minshew.
When he was at Wazoo with the late, great Mike Leach. And he had the mustache, and then all the kids are doing the mustache, and also the Halloween costumes where kids were dressing up as Gardner Minshew, and then Leach comes up with the mustache. I could
get with that.
See, it's different. You could have that personality in college.
Yeah.
In college, that stuff works. College is about emotion and entertainment. And like, all right, there's like that more cult-like following in college. You get to the NFL. If your highlight is a mustache, or your highlight is like a bushy beard and your Fitzmagic, or Mike McDaniel with those capris running off the field after an interview and saying these things at the podium where he sounds like Napoleon Dynamite. And I'm like, hey, guys, like, you're supposed to be adults here. We're supposed to have some adults in the room. And when I'm not seeing the adulting going on and everyone's laughing at it like you're some college kid that is at doing a keg stand and everyone is like cheering you on, that's when it gets a little bit too much for me. Like, hey, Zach Gelb in college did a few keg stands. Zach Gelb in college was a frat guy. Zach Gelb in college, a lot different than Zach Gelb right now. And I know you sometimes may listen to me and be like, oh, you're just a big baby with the microphone. You're a bloviating jackass. There's part of entertainment in what we do, and you dramatize some stuff. But I'm not referring, even though I just did, but I was referencing what someone would say. I don't talk in the third person.
No.
Like, I don't do this shtick just to get liked and for people to pat me on the ass and go, oh, yeah, that's that Gelb guy. He's so funny, blah, 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 blah. And that's what I just kind of feel it was with Fitzpatrick and also Mike McDaniel.
Definitely. I agree with you on that one.
So, how do we start this effing segment? Oh, it was about McCarthy. JJ McCarthy with his alter ego. Yeah. And Russell Wilson. That's when his career started going downhill. Mr. Unlimited. Oh, yeah.
That dude's rough.
He's married to, right?
Yeah, I know he's married to.
Sierra.
I don't know how, but I know.
Well, Russell Wilson's a good-looking guy. He's a successful guy, but, like
that to me, okay.
Let me ask you this.
You got to be on a whole pop thing. That to me is like Clay, Clay dating Megan Thee Stallion. That does not work. That does not work at all. Clay Thomas.
Oh, what's wrong with that?
He's too much. Nah, it doesn't work for me.
What do you mean? Clay,
I think their personalities.
Clay Thompson's great. He's actually fun. He has the personality of?
Who?
A stoner.
Well, maybe. I
interviewed Clay Thompson once, down to earth, good dude. After a game in Philadelphia, he's eating a pizza and a cheesesteak doing the interview. And he looked like he just may have smoked a doobie or two.
Maybe there's just something I'm like, I don't know.
Well, what is it about Klay Thompson that you don't like?
He's very vanilla and just like I don't know.
And she's not.
I know. I guess it works. It's
opposites sometimes attract, but like I don't think Klay Thompson is anything that like you'd be turned off by him if you were Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
But like let's be real. Russell Wilson, I'm gonna try not to get myself in trouble here.
Oh, here we go.
When they're having a little nookie time, is he talking to Sierra like, yeah, this is Mr. Unlimited? I hope not. Because if that's the case, that he's like, Mr. Unlimited, we go unlimited times in the bedroom.
Mr. Nasty.
I'd be like, I'm out. What did you say?
Mr. Nasty on next Friday after next? You ever seen that? Oh, my God. You need to go look that up.
Okay.
Mr. Nasty time.
Yeah. I don't know. That does not seem like that's something that I want in my my search history, Mr. Nasty time. I could go down a different rabbit hole there. By the way, did you Sabalenka, the tennis player, did you see she got engaged?
I did not.
So she got engaged. There's a theory on the timing of her engagement. She posted, and sometimes you have a conversation with your buddy. And I probably shouldn't bring these things up on the show, but I told you this since day one.
Let's do it.
I'm an open book here.
Yeah, let's go.
So a few years ago, one of my really close friends and I, we went to the U.S. Open, and we saw Sabalenka. And she is a tremendous tennis player. Let's just say my friend had a little bit of a crush on Sabalenka.
Try to holler?
A what?
Did he try to holler at her?
No.
Okay.
We were like in the upper deck. Yeah, he was like, Sabalenka, marry me. And she was like, oh, I hear that all the time. So anyway, he's in a very good relationship right now. But anyway, so like I always know, this is going to be the locker room talk, okay? I always know that he had a crush on Sabalenka. And right. Sabalenka's a tremendous tennis player and a gorgeous woman. So I called him today when it popped up on my timeline that she got engaged. And I go, hey, bad news. And he goes, what's the matter? I go, Sabalenka got engaged. And he goes, you're so like late on this. Old news. So I go, okay. He goes, did you see what she posted the day before? And I said, no. She posted a video that was a little promiscuous, let's just say. Okay. It was as Larry David would say, a pretty good video where she's walking and she's all dressed up, and let's just say that the girls were out. All right.
Girls were out. Okay.
We don't need to. We were a family-friendly show. We don't need to get into any more explanation there. So a lot of people think, and I don't know the timing of this. I don't know what's true or false. I've seen the video. A lot of people think whoever she got engaged to, he saw that and the whole world was talking about it. And he's like
oh,
all right, this is overdue. She is really basically saying, like, you're going to pass this up? Like, what are you doing? What are you, an idiot, a moron, and a dope? Oh. And then he got down on one knee. And it just so happened the next day she ends up getting engaged. So,
that's a good take. I think you might be onto something. You might be onto something.
Put it this way. You could get me to say a lot of things if the way she was walking around and what she was wearing, you could get me to say a lot of things real quickly. Right. There is no doubt about that. She was looking good. All righty. Let's keep it moving here as we just went down.
Totally sidetracked.
We just went down some rabbit. This is why you listen to Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports. We tell you what Russell Wilson may or may not be saying in the bedroom to Sierra. We find out that for some bizarre reason, Garrett doesn't like Klay Thompson, is like the nicest dude on the planet. Then we find out about Sabalenka getting engaged. Kyler Murray may be going to the Minnesota Vikings, or Aaron Rodgers may be going to the Minnesota Vikings. What show do you watch on a daily basis gives you this level of entertainment? I'm just going to ask the question. I don't think so. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. By the way, since I'm in like just a different mood today. I'm in a good mood today. But we're just talking about all these different things. Did you see the Zion Williamson stuff with Stephen A. Smith?
I saw a tweet that I believe the Pelicans had
Went at him.
Yeah, and he was like, the way he responded was like, "You asked for this, I'm coming for your neck."
Okay, so Malika Andrews did an interview with Zion Williamson.
Okay.
I didn't watch the interview. We'll play you what Stephen A. just said in a second, but Stephen A. is basically talking about how Zion Williamson is addicted to food, and that's why he was so large throughout the years. And if you think about Zion Williamson, who is having a solid season this year, but Zion Williamson was, at one point, was the epicenter of the college basketball world, where, like, what Victor Wembanyama has become, it was like a similar level of hype, not maybe to that level, but you had Duke UNC. President Barack Obama was there when Zion Williamson bursted through that shoe. But Zion has just never lived up to the hype where he's been like a top 5 player in the league. He just hasn't. So Zion does this interview with Malika Andrews, and then Stephen A. Smith, where, you know, you look back at the Mariah Mills situation, then there's this food situation. Stephen A. is telling this story about Zion and how he's addicted to food. Like, some people are addicted to sex, some people are addicted to drugs. Zion Williamson just happened to be addicted to food. And Zion is averaging this year for the Pelicans 21.5 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game. We haven't really talked about him much, but I think that's a good thing if we haven't been talking about Zion Williamson, because that means he's actually playing. And he's played in 46 games this year in the NBA. So, you know, it's been a positive season for Zion Williamson. So Stephen A. Smith responds. The Pelicans social media team then wanted to troll Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith once did this legendary rant about Kwame Brown. So they basically played that rant over Stephen A. Smith's college like highlights where he's like a bona fide scrub, blah, 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 blah. And then Stephen A. got all emotional about it and did a 10 or 15, and I like Stephen A., but it was just too much, this 10 or 15-minute segment that he did today on First Take. And I'm like, I know there's people in the media that go, oh, Stephen A. Smith's bad for the media. I'm not one of those people. I like Stephen A. Smith. He was kind to me when I was at Temple University. I think he's entertaining. He makes a lot of money. I think he's good for the business. Everything he says, do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But if I agreed with everything that he said, the world would absolutely be boring. But here was the initial take from Stephen A. Smith about Zion Williamson that kind of really got the ball rolling on this entire thing.
The situation is, I say this respectfully to Zion Williamson, we're very happy for you. But I want to piggyback off of what Perk added because it's incredibly important. Nothing was made up. The information that emanated about Zion Williamson, yeah, it came from inside the organization. It came from people even closer than that to Zion Williamson. I'm going to leave it at that. People that called up and encouraged us to get his ass because of some of the things that he was doing. You got people that are alcoholics. You got people that are drug addicts and stuff like that. What was Zion's problem? Food addict. The joke was everybody in New Orleans that cooked. It could be everybody from a restaurant, a chef, to your grandmama, all right? Anybody that cooked knew about Zion Williamson, and he knew them. They were on a first-name basis because that brother ate a lot, okay? You even had rumors, and literally, I'm here thinking it was a joke, and somebody told me to go on the air and point out how he got busted hiding food under his bed. This is the kind of stuff that was happening, okay? So why?
Like, I got to ask you, Garrett, do you think he was actually busted hiding food under his... It's not like he's Notorious B.I.G. In the movie that they did after him where he's basically selling blow and he's hiding the blow under his bed, and the mom is cleaning out his room one day and she goes, Christopher, you left mashed potatoes under your bed, and he goes, Ma, those ain't no mashed potatoes. One of my favorite movie lines of all time. Like, Zion Williamson is a grown man. Like, yeah, so he likes to eat. If I was in New Orleans, breaking news, I would be a food addict too. Every time I go to New Orleans, I feel horrible about myself because all I do is eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. But this idea that Zion Williamson, I'm not saying the guy doesn't like to eat. We've seen that through the years. But the idea that he's hiding food under his bed from like who? Like his parents are walking in and be like, Zion, go to your room. We told you not to have too much beignets, after dinner. Like, what are we doing?
And honestly, like when he said that, my immediate thought was, have you ever seen the movie Heavyweights?
Yes.
Okay, when they go and they like dump the stuff out of the bed, like that they've been hiding, I'm like, is this what he's doing? And I'm thinking like Eddie Lacy here, like the whole Eddie Lacy fallout with this.
Have you ever seen Sopranos?
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, what's the guy's name who has the fat wife? John. It's John. And remember the wife. She's
having to hide
enormous. Like Ted Johnson once said when he lined up behind Ted Washington, he could project a movie off Ted Washington's ass. That's what he once said to me. So John Sacramone, I think it was something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. And his wife was a little heavy. All right, she was a little heavy. And there's that one scene where he goes down into the basement and she's stuffing her face with like the Butterfingers and the Kit Kats and the Reese's Pieces. And she had the stash. So it's like, that's what's going on with Zion Williamson. He had the food stash, and Stephen A is getting reports that Zion was hiding food under his bed. Like,
dude, like if that's the case, like there's only so many people that would have that information. You would be able to narrow that one down if you're Zion.
Out of all the things that you could be addicted to, and I get it, hey, being addicted to food could be a problem because you put on a lot of pounds, but there's like a lot of worse things that you could be addicted to.
Oh, yeah.
Like it feels like it was, you know how they say the freshman 15 in college?
Mm-hmm.
And some people go way over the freshman 15. And I was like the freshman 45. Zion had like a little freshman 45 thing. Eventually you get your body figured out and you'll be okay. But man, Stephen A responding to this though. Stephen A responding to this, it was just too much today. Like, I thought the initial rant was funny. Then the Pelicans clap back. Like, all right, Stephen A always has to get the last word in. Yeah. But he's talking about this they've changed their name twice. They only have 2 playoff wins. You have the same amount of name change as you do a playoff series win. I like Stephen A lot, but sometimes and I know that he thinks he's the most important person in the room, and right, he has a legendary show, #1, blah, 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 blah. But Stephen A, a lot of times, he takes himself a little bit too extra seriously when he was like I think a lot of people were laughing at his commentary, and then a lot of people on Twitter were like, oh my God, the clapback by the social media department of the Pelicans was great. He can't ever have a joke be at his expense. And it was too serious. I was watching this on ESPN today, 10 to 15 minutes, and it was just too much. The monologue was just way too much for me. Way too much for me. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. What we're supposed to do in this segment was the 5 most interesting teams this offseason. I had the Raiders in at 5, the Eagles in at 4, the Cowboys in at 3, the Bears in at 2, and the Minnesota Vikings in at 1. I'll give you further explanations on that later on in the show. We got a poll question out there. Where will Kyler Murray be playing next season? Also, before we say goodbye today, or maybe I'll table this for tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I got the 5 best destinations for Max Crosby to get traded to, and also the 5 best destinations for A.J. Brown to get traded to. And the Kansas City Chiefs really kicked off this party today as they did trade Trent McDuffie to the LA Rams. So McDuffie goes to the Rams, F them picks. The Rams had 2 first-round picks. They give up their 29th overall pick, a 5th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick in this year's draft. And they've also attached a 2027 3rd-round pick. So the Rams have kind of set the market. The first domino has fallen. We'll see if the Crosby domino falls. We'll see if the A.J. Brown domino falls. DJ Moore, there's some speculation there. Terry McLaurin as well. So we'll see how active the trade market gets. And then when you get ready for free agency, Kyler Murray's going to be available. There'll be other quarterbacks that will be available. And Alec Pierce, we'll get into that later. After the Colts didn't franchise tag him because they put the transition tag on Daniel Jones, Alec Pierce made it clear to Kay Adams that he is going to test the market, which I think is a very smart approach by Alec Pierce because I think he's going to get pizzade this offseason. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Matthew Coller does a great job covering the Minnesota Vikings. We will tap into the Vikings in our offseason preview as we go through all 32 teams. We got to check in with Minnesota as there's a lot cooking there on who their quarterback could be. for this upcoming season of 2026. Zach Gelb here with you, 365 Sports, youtube.com/@365SportsYT. Subscribe.
The 4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview Glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very discreet.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, youtube.com/@365SportsYT. Subscribe. The Vikings, I think, are actually the most interesting team entering this NFL offseason. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah no longer the GM. Some pressure finally starting to build up on Kevin O'Connell. And we know they have a great wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, but we truly do not know who their quarterback is going to be for the 2026 season. So let's bring in Matthew Coller. Does a great job covering the Minnesota Vikings, purpleinsider.com. And Matthew's kind enough to join us once again on the show. Matt, how you been, my friend?
I guess busier than I would have expected. If you had asked me last year, I would have said, they're going to be in a great spot and they're just going to be, putting the finishing touches on a roster around JJ McCarthy. Well, that's not really the case. And once again, Minnesota is at the center of what's going to happen at quarterback, which feels like it's been my life every single offseason for the last, I don't know how many years, going back to Case Keenum to Kirk Cousins. And then are they going to stick with Kirk? How long are they going to stick with Kirk? Is he going to sign a new contract? And Sam Darnold, are they going to go back to Sam Darnold? It feels like every offseason the Vikings are in this conversation, and now they seem to be the front runner to sign Kyler Murray, which would probably speak to the end of JJ McCarthy in Minnesota, which feels like it never actually started. So it's been weird. It's been a little weird, man.
I could see why Kyler Murray would want to sign with the Minnesota Vikings, but how legitimate do you think the interest level will be for the Minnesota Vikings? Like, out of all the possible options, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, Derek Carr, do you think right now Kyler is option number one for Minnesota?
I think that he either is or he should be. I know that numerous insiders, it was funny, I counted up the number of quarterbacks that in NFL insiders connected to the Vikings, and I think I came up with 7 or maybe 8, but the name that came up everywhere was Kyler Murray, and it's pretty obvious why. He's the best quarterback available. He's the best football player. There's a lot of noise with Kyler Murray. These, does he love video games and stuff like that, which was kind of a thing from 4 years ago, but the internet never lets anything go, just like seeing ghosts with Sam Darnold. He said when he was 21, but people were still saying it about him last year when he lost the game. So anyway, the point with Murray, though, is if you look at Mike Sando's, his quarterback tiers that he does every year, where he asks a bunch of executives and coaches to rank the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray has consistently been in the top 15 for what the league thinks of him. And if you look at the other options, I mean, Geno Smith leads the NFL over the last 3 years in sacks and interceptions. Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. Aaron Rodgers is very old and coming off of an Achilles. Daniel Jones is coming off of an Achilles and is also very expensive if you want to make an offer that the Indianapolis Colts are not going to match. So you start looking around going, I don't know, do you ask Derek Carr to come out of retirement and play for you? Is that a better option than Kyler Murray? And I also would argue that nobody watched Kyler Murray play in 2024 because I think that he was pretty good. PFF ranked him as their 12th best quarterback. He played under center a lot more than he had in the past. He played in rhythm through quicker passes a lot more than he had in the past and was still very effective. 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 500 yards rushing. It just seems like Arizona could never figure out their roster around Kyler Murray after when they had DeAndre Hopkins there. And that's another factor too, is who could be the quarterback that can get the ball to Justin Jefferson the best? It's Kyler Murray. The only thing is you have to be done with JJ McCarthy, at least for 2026, if you're going to go after Kyler Murray, because it's not a mentor situation. It's probably not even a quarterback competition if you're talking about someone that in the league is considered to be a top 15 quarterback. I mean, McCarthy would just have to completely set the world on fire. So are they looking for somebody who's a little more competition, like a Geno Smith? I guess you could even say that for potentially Kirk, that JJ McCarthy could beat out. Or are you just saying we need the best possible quarterback? I tend to think that that's the case because the frustration was clearly brewing last year with Justin Jefferson. He's been on this team since 2020. He's put up historic numbers, but he has no playoff wins. And he's coming off a year where in week 18, they had to force him the ball to get to 1,000 yards. That's how much JJ McCarthy struggled to throw it to him. I mean, I think you need someone who's a legitimate starting quarterback to compete with the other great NFC North teams and to get Justin Jefferson the football.
And that'd be my biggest fear, because I think this is a breaking point. And Justin Jefferson, in all my interactions with him, I think I've interviewed him like 5 or 6 times. Good dude, humble superstar. Like, will remember you from like an interview I did with him 4 years ago, then walk up to me on Radio Row and be like, hey, Zach, how you doing? He's not your stereotypical wide receiver, but if you keep on surrounding him in situations where the quarterback room is a question mark and he doesn't feel like he could win, well, there's a lot of places that he could go to with better quarterback play and a better chance to win. And I think he wants to stay in Minnesota. I think he's given the Vikings every opportunity to prove him right. But eventually, when someone keeps on doing the same thing over and over again and it's not benefiting you, you got to get out of that relationship.
Yeah, that's right. And having known Jefferson since he first arrived, like day one, this guy is unique in the fact that he wants to be like Larry Fitzgerald. He wants to be a Minnesota Viking for life, Hall of Famer, set records, and do it with one franchise. I'm fairly certain of that. He's never shown any indication that he wanted to do it anywhere else. He signed a very long and lucrative contract to stay here. And then even last year, he was as good of a good soldier as you'll ever see. In fact, we gave him the Corey Stringer Media Good Guy Award for the way that he handled every single week having to come out and talk to us about JJ McCarthy throwing balls that flew over his head and into the stands. And at one point he did leave a locker room not talking to the media because he was so frustrated. But I think we all understood, that's something that beat reporters love to hammer a player for, but it's like, okay, we get it. Max Brosmer was out there playing that game against Seattle. They threw 4 picks. It was awful. That's how down it was for Jefferson. And when you consider what he has as his aspirations in the NFL, in his mind, he's chasing Jerry Rice as the best receiver of all time. That's where he sets his bar. So if he has a year where the ball can't get to him and he feels like on tape, I was open, I was there, I should have been able to get the football, and those numbers are not what I expected to be, there's going to be, I'm sure behind the scenes, a ton of frustration for Justin Jefferson. You have to get that relationship back on track. And it also kind of sets up for a contract situation as well, because he signed an extension. It's got huge cap hit numbers coming up that were really designed to sign another one. So he would have some leverage there if they can't get things resolved. So I totally agree with you. He's a different kind of superstar. He's never going to do any of this out in public, but the competitor that he is and where he sets his bar for what he wants his career to be is not to the standard that last year was. And I mean, there were some drops and stuff, but it was largely that the quarterback could not get him the football.
For the last 2 weeks, when I talk about who should be the Vikings quarterback next year, I've said either Kyler Murray or Aaron Rodgers. We know Rodgers would have loved to have been a Viking last year. Do you think they'll have legitimate interest in him this offseason?
I would be surprised if that's the case. We've really seen a little bit of a shift already in the mentality, because last year was so much about being all in on that roster. And if you look at the way that they spent and some of the players that they're going to have to release this year, they overpaid Aaron Jones. They overpaid Javon Hargrave. They overpaid Jonathan Allen. They overpaid Byron Murphy. Everybody was getting their money because they were saying, we're going to stack up this roster around the rookie quarterback contract. And hey, New England did the same exact thing. Remember when Diggs signed his contract? How could you pay him that much money? Well, because you have the rookie quarterback contract advantage. So you can do that. But if it doesn't work, then you end up in cap hell, which is where they are now, and trying to work their way out of it. So I think last year, with the caliber of roster that they were able to put together with free agency and all that, and seeing that as we can really win or compete for the Super Bowl this year with that roster, Aaron Rodgers would have made a lot more sense. But now it feels like they're going to go through a bit of a transition here where it's somewhere in the middle. Of course, they want to win and get to the playoffs with Jefferson, but they're also talking about trading Jonathan Grenard away. They have to get cap compliant. They have to get more draft capital and start thinking out into the future. To me, that doesn't scream Aaron Rodgers, come here and throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. I'm sure that Rodgers would like that. And I think that there's a lot of quarterbacks who would like to play for Kevin O'Connell. I don't think that his reputation as a quarterback star coach was sullied by what happened last year from a quarterback in JJ McCarthy who was just not ready for it. I also still think McCarthy could be good down the road, but was just not ready for that last year. It just, things have changed. Things have shifted from where they were with their roster and their timeline from where it was last year. That said, it's the Minnesota Vikings. Would I be shocked? By nothing. There's nothing that could shock me at the quarterback position with the Vikings.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they still believe in J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know if they do or don't, you could bring in Rodgers, and it would kind of be how it was perceived that after the Niners lost in the Super Bowl, it's like, all right, Brock, we really like you, but we'll sit you down, and then you bring in Tom Brady, and it's like, okay, you learn from one of the all-time greats. If they bring in Kyler, I know you said that maybe it's not even a competition. You could at least say, hey, it's a competition. You know who's going to win that competition. Kyler's going to win it over JJ. So where are they at with JJ? Do they still believe he could be a good quarterback for them?
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you bring in Kyler, like he's the guy, that's your sales pitch, is you're coming in to be our quarterback. And hey, maybe if it works out really well, you could be our franchise quarterback and earn $100 million into the future. If it's someone like Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr or even Geno Smith, that does open the door still for McCarthy developing behind the scenes for a year and then, taking over the reins. Here's the thing. It makes complete sense to have JJ McCarthy get the development season behind the scenes that he should have had. He did not get it because of a meniscus injury. He did not get it last year because they decided not to franchise tag Sam Darnold. So he was tossed right into the starting role, having never really been the guy, even at Michigan. And then he misses an entire season. And then it's, hey, and this was always the questionable part about that decision. As much as they love the traits that JJ McCarthy had shown them, it was very risky to do, and it blew up in their face. But for him, if there was a chance to develop for a year behind the scenes, and he embraced that role, which is really, really hard. I was watching the 49ers documentary on AMC, and Steve Young saying that at one point he just had to say to himself, like, be the best you could be as a backup quarterback. I don't know if the world works that way as it used to when Steve Young was a backup to Joe Montana, and it was also Joe Montana and not Kyler Murray or Geno Smith. I think it would be really, really hard for McCarthy, but I also think that there is a universe where he ends up making great strides behind the scenes. Someone like Malik Willis, who was written off pretty fast when he played in Tennessee and then goes to Green Bay, develops behind the scenes, comes in, looks like a totally different guy. That's possible. It's happened before. We've seen it. Even Sam Darnold cites his year as a backup as the best thing that ever happened to his career because he learned a lot being able to see it from the sideline. So I think that's possible. But if you're the Vikings, I mean, if you're doing this now and you're showing a lack of belief by going and getting another starter, are you sold on the possibility that that could really happen? I don't know. Maybe you go into 2027 with somebody else as your quarterback. You're planning on drafting one and then having a big old competition. I don't know how it's going to play out. They are saying publicly that they're not done with JJ McCarthy, that he deserves a little grace considering all that he's been through in his first 2 years. And I think that's really fair. They've said that Kevin O'Connell told us, hey, we've seen all the traits that we were looking for from McCarthy. It just hasn't all come together at once. So at least publicly, they're saying that they're not bailing on him. But what they do at the quarterback position will probably tell us a lot about that.
What's the truth with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah? Why was he ultimately fired?
Well, yeah, I know that it certainly looked like he was fired because Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. And I can't say that that wasn't a factor in any way, shape, or form because Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. And it was always Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's plan to build around the rookie quarterback contract, which, again, has worked repeatedly across the league. But the quarterback has to be good, and he wasn't. So here we are. But, I think it was much more about the leadership within the front office, and they knew that they were going to go into a very tumultuous situation with this year. The salary cap is in total shambles. They have to restructure contracts. They have to trade away players. They have to cut guys that they don't want to cut in order to just get under the cap. And then they're hoping that a Kyler Murray comes for $1 million to fix their quarterback position. That's not really where you want to be. So you have to go through some very challenging stuff, a quarterback situation, a cap situation, and you have to try to transition this roster from being older and veteran and having missed on a lot of draft picks to now get back into, while still having Jefferson, while still having Christian Darrisaw and a core of players who are good. You got to get back into real, legitimate being a contender. So that's a hard road for any team once they reach the moment that they peak as a roster and then miss. And I think that a lot of people within the organization just felt like he wasn't the guy to take them there. And it becomes a huge thing of like every little thing that Kwesi did then comes out, in all the reports and looking for, well, was it the drafting? Was it the quarterback? Was it Brian Flores coming back who, maybe didn't have the best relationship with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, according to some reports. But I think it was much more of, we need someone who is going to command this franchise into its next phase. And a lot of people in the organization weren't buying him as that person. So now that's even more interesting as a dynamic. You have an acting general manager who's been with the franchise a long time, who's now, I don't know, maybe got to trade one of their best players, got to make a huge quarterback decision. That's something that you just don't see very often around the NFL.
Yeah, I was doing Texas A&M Kentucky last night for Compass Media Networks. And then I don't know, maybe it was the adrenaline off the game or whatever. I was up late last night and I was just perusing Netflix. And I don't know how, it's old, but I landed on the Brett Favre documentary with Jen Sturgeon. I was watching that for whatever it was, an hour, 90 minutes. So maybe that's why I'm on the Rodgers train with how Favre's career ended in Minnesota. I'm thinking with Rodgers. But did Kwesi not want Rodgers last year and KOC did? Because that's the way it felt like it was talked about when Kwesi was fired.
Yeah, so what I can say is I know for certain that there were certain people inside the organization that wanted Aaron Rodgers pretty badly to be the starting quarterback. But I don't think that we can pin one thing or another on any particular person. I don't think we could say, well, KOC wanted this and Kwesi wanted this and other people wanted that. They landed on JJ McCarthy because they really liked him. And if you remember, I went semi-viral on your show one time for exaggerating and kind of, being a little facetious, but JJ McCarthy was really good in 2024 training.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that comment.
Yes. What my point then, what I was saying to you, I made kind of a crack about him being John Elway. The point was more that he was made to seem like the best he could ever be was a game manager. And his physical traits were so much better than that, like the arm strength, which you saw at times this year, the mobility, where you absolutely saw the playmaking of JJ McCarthy. So as an organization, this was said to us by the owners of the team, that they felt like what they had seen in that training camp was so impressive to them that it had checked all the boxes when they drafted him of what they expected him to be. And that's why they were going with him. Who felt what way? Any decision that you make in the NFL, you're going to have this person has that opinion, that person has that opinion. What didn't fit to me with Aaron Rodgers was, well, if you want a veteran starting quarterback, why didn't you just bring back Sam Darnold, who won 14 games for you? That seems like a pretty good veteran starting quarterback to bring back with your team, since he just had so much success. And also, Rodgers' age is very significant in the conversation as well. In hindsight, yes, it would have been much better for Rodgers to play, probably gets him to the playoffs, almost guaranteed, really, with their defense. And then McCarthy would be taking over right now, probably in a much better place. But then, this thing has so many layers to it, man. There was some reporting that they felt like if they brought in Rodgers or kept Sam Darnold for another year, that it would be very hard on JJ McCarthy from a mental perspective, having just gone through that knee injury and so forth. And that may have influenced the decision. Like, I hope that wasn't what influenced the decision, but that is something that I think Diana Rossini reported. So there was a lot of layers to that, and that's going to be picked apart and probably retold many, many different ways to many different people. But the only people who really know what went down in those conversations are in that building.
Now, this is what I struggle with, because living in New York, if let's say the general manager was fired and there was a coach that's been there for a while who's been successful, all the pressure would shift to the coach. And so from afar, I sit there and I go, all right, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is no longer there. O'Connell's well respected. People like him. But now all the pressure is on him. How hot is the hot seat on KOC entering this year?
So that's a challenging thing to try to figure out, because if you go through all 32 coaches in the NFL, how many of them have gone 5 years without winning a playoff game and still have their jobs? The answer is none. So in the NFL today, where we just saw Sean McDermott win in the playoffs, come one interesting call away from winning again in the playoffs, and probably would have gone to the Super Bowl, and he gets fired. So the league is firing coaches left and right. I mean, even Raheem Morris, it wasn't a terrible year in Atlanta, and you're out, buddy. So the pressure on all coaches, I think even across sports, you see this in the NBA. You have guys win the NBA finals, and then the next year they're fired. It's kind of crazy. I think that the social media pressure, you have more access to fan opinions. There's more of people like ourselves, giving our opinions about different things, and the ownership, they have ears, they hear it, they can read, they see it. And I think that more rash decisions get made. I don't see the Vikings ownership as being super reactionary like that. Agreed. But at the same time, when we go through their history, Mike Zimmer missed the playoffs 2 years in a row, was a very, very good coach, and he was out. The difference is that Zimmer's building had gotten pretty toxic at that point.
Like I like Mike Zimmer. Yeah. He was a pain in the ass. Kevin O'Connell is Mr. Player friendly, like player coach, but not a doormat. Zimmer, nice guy. Like, I had no issue with him, but it seemed like he was a prick the way the players talked about him.
I would say that, Zimmer was cut from a different cloth in the NFL of a different era when they didn't have social media. And if you made certain comments to the media would just laugh about it and maybe not put it out there, not have it shared to the entire universe like every press conference is now. But you couldn't ask for a better front door to a franchise than Kevin O'Connell. Whether it's in public and the way that he presents himself, or whether it's behind the scenes to operating. I mean, if you ask the backup center, if you ask the person who works in the training room, if you ask anybody they enjoy working with Kevin O'Connell. This is not an environment where we see many people even leave because of the way that he operates his building. And then you look at the NFLPA survey, which I know had to be leaked to my friend Kaylin Kaler this year, but it's A's across the board for the coaching staff. It's A's for Kevin O'Connell. It's A's for the training staff. That's hard to deny, because when you think about, like, if you're reacting and firing and hiring coaches, you're just whiplashing your key players around and your franchise around all the time. If you have someone who's proven to be good at this, yes, they made a big mistake with JJ McCarthy and it cost them. They went 9-8 last year. Sometimes I think I'm talking about a team that went 3-14, like the way that we've talked about O'Connell. If you can have a season where you're still on the right side of the ledger, despite all the drama, despite all the struggles at quarterback, at one point they're 4-8, rip off 5 wins to close the season. To me, that was an endorsement from the locker room, the way that they continued to play as hard as they did to the end of the season. That's just somebody, to me, that is a 10-year type of coach, not someone where you're going year to year and saying, oh, well, if he makes the playoffs, he's in. If he misses the playoffs, he's out. That's how they ended up without Sam Darnold, was they said, if he wins this playoff game, he's in. And if he loses it, he's out. I don't think you should make decisions that way.
PurpleInsider.com makes you check out Matthew Coller. Just got 2 more before we let you run. Everyone talks about people that could get traded this offseason. You talk about the salary cap situation. Jordan Addison just went through 3 years. He's a good player, a lot of off-the-field issues. Is he someone that could be traded this offseason?
I think that that's realistic. So when you talk about the salary cap, though, I mean, he is going to make $4 million because he's still on his rookie contract. And you're talking about a guy in his first 2 seasons that went over 900 yards, totaled 19 touchdowns. Last year, everyone's production was down. Hawkinson, Jefferson, anybody on the team on offense because of the quarterback situation. But when he had Kirk Cousins, when he had Sam Darnold, he was a legitimate difference-making wide receiver. But I do think if you're looking a couple of years out, you're saying, can you really pick up the 5th-year option of a player who has had a 3-game suspension? He was arrested. There were no charges with a recent incident with a casino, but you don't get benefit of the doubt when you've already had these issues. There was a very subtle, he was suspended for a quarter over in London for whatever we didn't actually find out, but that's another ding on the what is going on with Jordan Addison off the field. So can you really pay that guy? Can you make him your T. Higgins to Jamar Chase? And I think the answer kind of feels like no. When you pick up the 5th-year option and then, you go forward, it's a lot of cash you got to put down to a guy that you're not sure can make it from February to September without having any sort of issues. So they know more than I do behind the scenes about Jordan Addison, but you have to have some serious questions there. And it all probably comes down to the return. If somebody's going to come in with a very high draft pick for Jordan Addison, it is very difficult to get receivers that are experienced in the NFL. Look at the free agent class of receivers. I would think that Alec Pierce was Randy Moss with the way that he's being talked about in the free agent market. Like, everybody wants Alec Pierce. And you're like, okay, well, he's pretty good, but I mean, he's going to get crazy money. So if you're another team that's wide receiver needy, you might be jacking up the price for Jordan Addison. And at some point, the Vikings could go, hey, look, you're really good, but you're not Justin Jefferson. And whoever we put next to Justin Jefferson will probably succeed. So I don't think it's something they're looking to do. Like, hey, we have to get rid of this guy right away. But I mean, if they're going to move Grenard, then they're open to plenty of ideas, I think.
If you had to go in order, and this is the last thing I'll ask you, just 1, 2, and 3, and most likely to least likely, your 3 options to start week 1 for the Vikings at quarterback, who would the 3 names be?
Kyler Murray is number 1 for me with a bullet. I just don't know why he wouldn't come to Minnesota. When you start comparing, I know the folks there in New York are just frothing at the mouth for anyone who could run an offense in a reasonable manner. But if you're Murray, why would you go to a team that has not had a good quarterback play since, I don't know what, Chad Pennington or something? So that would be pretty questionable. Cleveland, you're not doing that. I mean, who else could make a good argument? Probably
the only
Falcons.
The Falcons. The division stinks. You got some pieces there, and if Rodgers winds up in Minnesota, Kyler could go to the Steelers. Those are really the only 3 I think of.
Right. And none of those teams have Justin Jefferson, which I think would be a needle mover for someone whose best years came with DeAndre Hopkins. So if I'm Kyler Murray, money is not a factor here. You're just picking football. If the Vikings want you, I think you go there. Geno Smith to me would be number 2. It's reasonable to look at what happened last year and go, Chip Kelly is just a college coach, right?
And it's the Raiders.
Right. And it's the Raiders. And they couldn't block me and you last year. Like they just did not know what they were doing on offense. I mean, if you start pushing the ball down the field to number 18 with Geno Smith, there's going to be fireworks there. So I think that they could consider that. I think number 3 is probably Kirk Cousins. I mean, you can't ask for a guy who's more familiar with the franchise, the offense, and he was on one of those Netflix documentaries saying that he wished he had kind of just stayed in Minnesota. They did have an offer for him to stay and be the bridge quarterback, but they were honest with him. Like, we're going to draft someone and you're going to have to be a mentor. So he decided to go to someone that would love him more. And unfortunately they didn't either. So, he could come back to his old neighborhood and have his neighbor, do his snow or whatever out of his sidewalk that he talked about all the time. If he wanted to do that, I think he's like the backup option, but all 3 of those guys, they could succeed here with the offensive setup. And I think they're probably the top 3 that they're looking at.
Well, my takeaway from that is that it's not JJ McCarthy. Like, it seems they are done for him for 2026.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't think that they believe that his career has to be over. Like, there are certain bust quarterbacks where you just go, oh, no, that's not going to work. That's like a Paxton Lynch type of thing or a Christian Hackenberg. Yeah, this guy just can't possibly. There were 10 different moments during last season where you went, okay, something is there with JJ McCarthy. But what became clear was that he was just not ready for that. And then you go back and look at the pressure he was facing. You moved on from a 14-win quarterback with a veteran locker room that expected to win 14 games again and said, hey, kid, I know you've never played before, but why don't you just, go do the same thing that 27-year-old Sam Darnold just did, who also is a brilliant thrower while you're still trying to learn how to properly throw. It was a lot to ask, and I think they know that. So I wouldn't shut the door completely on JJ McCarthy. I just think they want someone else to start next year. And then we'll see. Like, guys get hurt all the time. You might end up 3 weeks into the season and JJ McCarthy's your quarterback again.
PurpleInsider.com. Make sure you check him out. One of the best covering the Vikings. He, of course, is Matthew Coller joining us right here on the Zach Gelb Show. Matt, really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
There you go. Matthew Coller, one of the best of the business when it comes to talking Minnesota Vikings. Always love whenever we can talk Vikings, and he joins us on this show. So it doesn't look like it's JJ for 2026. The 3 names that he had in order were Kyler 1, Geno Smith 2, and then Kirk Cousins 3. If that's the case, it should be Kyler. Like I take away from that the Vikings are interested in Kyler Murray. Why would Kyler not be interested in Minnesota? Like, you go to Cleveland, you go to the Jets, you go to the Dolphins, like, you go to the Falcons, fine. Go to Steelers, fine. If he's trying to salvage his career and turn this narrative around, Minnesota, I would believe, is the most ideal landing spot out of the realistic landing spots for him. But other things come into factor. Money. Like, if he's looking to go make a huge payday, yeah, the Browns, the Jets, they'll go juice that price up for you. I would have to imagine. But are you going to be a guy that we thought you could be if you go to the Jets, or if you end up going to Cleveland, or you end up going to Miami? That's the big question. Take a timeout. Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. Subscribe.
What I love most about playing basketball is the competition. I really just like being shifty, mastering hesitation moves, changing direction, building chemistry with new teammates. If you're not having fun while you're playing, there's no point in playing the game. You know what to do. Escape Basic. Pair of Thieves quick dry underwear. It wicks away sweat and helps keep you dry. You looking forward to fishing season?
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
I'm here to work out with you.
We did not put this little cookie cutter program together.
I'm in there with you, sweating, yelling, doing the damn thing.
Transform by Core Home Fitness.
A secret, I travel internationally every year. I struggle with insomnia both at home and especially in hotels. This was life-changing. It's called Fly Kit. My favorite aspect of the Fly Kit is it tells you when to sleep.
Dude, check out this robe. This is the dude robe. It's perfect for after the shower, gym, or even the beach. This thing is awesome. It also has this super premium towel lining to dry you off right away. Dude, what are you waiting for? Get yourself a dude robe today.
At Dreamy, we believe that life can be upgraded in comfort, convenience, and joy. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. Can I get your reaction real quickly here, Garrett? I'm laughing about something.
What we got?
Aaron Rodgers, I guess, was on the Pat McAfee show today.
Mm-hmm.
We will have clips to play for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers' wife was a topic of conversation. Have you been down the rabbit hole about the talk about Aaron Rodgers' wife? Just wondering.
No, this is new to me. I'm very interested.
So Aaron Rodgers just like randomly last year showed up with the wedding ring on, and no one knew that he was married. And because of his family situation not being in the best spot, like there were talks about in articles about his family not having a clue. And then during the season, the Steelers' wives and girlfriends, the Wags, were like, hey, we've never seen her. We want to meet her. So there's been a lot of talk throughout the years about Aaron Rodgers' dating life, right? Some people we've known publicly. Then there was this one article that he was dating some witch. Yeah. I didn't say what people may have thought I said. That was a witch with a W, not with a B. But yeah, supposedly he was dating some witch. So it's bizarre. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's false. But Rodgers is such a strange dude that nothing would surprise me. So here are the two takeaways that I see from the Aaron Rodgers interview with Pat McAfee. From Ari Murov, our buddy at My Sports Update, Aaron Rodgers says on the Pat McAfee show, it's effing bizarre how everyone wants to know who his wife is. He's known her since 2017. But then they separated. She went back across the pond, and now years later, they are happily married. She doesn't want to be a public person, and it's going to stay like that. So here's the thing. I understand you're dating someone married,
right?
Allegedly, to someone that is very famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could see why you wouldn't want to be in the public spotlight, because then, like, you go out for dinner with your girlfriends, or you just go to the supermarket, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's Aaron Rodgers' wife." And people come up to you, and people could be creepy. People could be obnoxious. I get not wanting to live the public life that your significant other lives. But then also, like, you don't just go out for dinner randomly with your husband. And I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Out in the Town, blah, 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 and paparazzi follows people everywhere. And not even paparazzi now. Garrett goes out, and I have my phone at my table, and I see Garrett, going out with Pamela Anderson, let's just say. I don't know why I just threw out her name. I was thinking someone that was probably age appropriate for you. and I just take my phone out and take a photo, and boom, like, yeah, if Rodgers went out to dinner with any girl.
Oh, there'd be pictures everywhere.
I would. even I would be the creepy guy at the table that'd be like, oh, let me take a picture of Aaron Rodgers. Maybe this is his mysterious wife. So how there's not been a photo yet. I understand, and Rodgers thinks everyone's bizarre. I understand why Rodgers like, yeah, it's weird that people have this fascination about my wife. Just leave her alone. She wants to be a private person. But even though you're not a normal person, you don't ever do normal people stuff. Like every husband has to go like apple picking, or every husband has to go to some place they don't want, like a show or a movie, or just dinner when you don't want to. And there's never been a photo. It's just interesting to me. Like I see these videos of like Justin Bieber, who walks outside of his apartment. There's paparazzi there all the time. And he's like, guys, like, this is my home. Like, get away from me. Like, I understand not wanting to be in this life. But like, even Justin Bieber will go on out and do regular people things, like go to a hockey game or go to, like, your wife doesn't do any of that. That's why I think there's this fascination where if Rodgers just went out to dinner one time with his wife and a photo went out there, and be like, oh, this isn't a Lene Kukua situation. She actually does exist. There's a photo. And I think people would stop talking about it.
They would. And I'm also wondering, like, I mean, maybe she is still the witch. Maybe she's got like a cloak spell on all of us.
Yeah.
With him all the time.
No, he broke up. Allegedly, they broke up, him and the witch.
Supposedly.
That was like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
But also, like, too, like, to me, anytime you're getting in a relationship like that, like, you know, you're going to be in the public spotlight, right? Like, you know, naturally you're going to be in the public eye. So if that's something you're not ever wanting to endure or be a part of, like, why even get involved in that relationship in the first place from her perspective? But it's very weird. And I don't know how, like, with cameras literally being everywhere at this point in time, how you cannot be caught at some point, even getting out of your car somewhere, getting gas or something.
Yeah, and I see Jesus writes in the YouTube chat, it's his life, people. Leave his personal life alone. Like, I understand that.
I'm all
take,
for that.
But, like, I totally get it. But that's not the reality of the situation is. Like, the reality of the situation, he's a very famous person, and even very famous people do, put it this way, if Taylor frickin' Swift will go out for dinner in New York City with Travis Kelce, like Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it's crazy to just say, not that I need to see a photo, not that like I need to know who his wife is. Like, to be honest, I give two shits about it. I'm just responding to what I just saw on the Pat McAfee show. But it is just bizarre to me that there's questions if she even does exist. Which the whole conversation is funny. I feel like I'm in like a Seinfeld bit. But you never gone out for dinner and no one's ever got a photo. Like, that's just what's weird to me about it. Now, Rodgers also said, and remember, his wife wants to have a low profile. His wife doesn't want to be in the public eye. So you think the conversation about his wife would end, right?
Yeah, you would think.
Now, I'm just reading the headlines here. I have not watched the full clip yet. We'll play the full thing tomorrow. Aaron Rodgers on staying in good shape via the Pat McAfee show. I'm trying to stay fit. I want to look good. I want my wife to F me all the time. Now, hold on.
Bro.
You can't be the one in one message saying, it's weird that everyone's fascinated about my wife. It's weird that people want to see pictures of her. It's weird that people want confirmation of life of my wife. And then she just wants to be left alone. She wants to live a private life. And then say, yeah, I got to be fit so I could get it on and F my wife all the time. It's like, the math's not really mathing for me right there.
He's going to come out with like a hand with like a wig on or something as his wife.
Oh, my God. It is bizarre. It is definitely bizarre. All righty. Let's end the show out. We'll get to the poll question in just a bit. But let me do this. I know we've been talking a lot about Kyler Murray. We'll wrap up the show with that poll question. But let's get to the 5 best trade destinations for A.J. Brown and then the 5 best trade destinations for Kyler Murray. Let's start it off with A.J. Brown. And I'll go 5-1 here. In at number 5, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos have Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton is a fine wide receiver. I think they need, though, a little extra flair in that offense. I would say A.J. Brown would make sense for the Denver Broncos. In at number 4, I'm going to go the Baltimore Ravens. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Zay Flowers. You got Derrick Henry, but you've been coming up short. You haven't been able to beat the Bills in the playoffs. You haven't been able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. You didn't make the playoffs last year. The AFC is open right now. The AFC is vulnerable right now. The Chiefs just traded Trent McDuffie, and they're coming off a year where they just missed the postseason. If I'm Baltimore, I would go pursue a trade for A.J. Brown. In at number 3, we talked to Ladd McConkey at the Super Bowl. I know that Keenan Allen, we also talked to him. He wants to go back to the Chargers. And this is a Chargers team. They're getting both their tackles back, and Rashawn Slater and then Joe Alt. However, even with the Marion Hampton and Najee Harris there, both having injuries throughout the time, they need another wide receiver. And if Ladd McConkey could be the number 2 wide receiver and A.J. Brown could be the number 1 wide receiver, that is a great, and I mean a great 1-2 punch. In at number 2, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills need a number 1 wide receiver. They need a number 1 wide receiver. They could go on out there for Josh Allen. They get A.J. Brown. You kind of recreate what you had with Stephon Diggs a few years ago and hope it's good enough to get you to a Super Bowl. And in at number 1, Mike Vrabel loves him. He loves Mike Vrabel. Drake May could use a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. I would say the Patriots going on out there and getting A.J. Brown. The top 5 best destinations for A.J. Brown: Broncos, Ravens, Chargers, Bills, and Patriots. All righty. Garrett just sent me a tweet. I have not looked at this tweet yet, Garrett. How big is this tweet? Just wondering.
I don't think it's necessarily massive, but it could play into A.J. Brown.
Okay, interesting. Because
I'll just say that.
I'm going to look at it in a second.
Okay.
I forget what it was, but very early on when I was doing this show, when we started 2 months ago right here on 365 Sports, you sent me a tweet like 4 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
And it overtook the whole show as big news. I forget what the big news was.
Oh, my God. What was
Was it Harbaugh getting hired?
It was
Harbaugh getting fired.
Harbaugh getting fired, yeah.
It was either Harbaugh getting fired or, no, you know what it was? It was Tomlin resigning.
That's what it was.
That's what it was.
Pelissero had it. Yeah.
Because we were talking about Tomlin and his future and how the Steelers should move on. We had Brian McFadden on that day. It was Tomlin getting resigning. So here we go. I'm going to pull this up from Garrett Ross, my producer extraordinaire. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's pretty sizable news.
Well,
According to Jordan Schultz, the Patriots are releasing Stephon Diggs. Now, I'm not surprised by this.
No.
Number 1, he was owed a lot of money for the next 2 years. Number 2, I don't even know what the status of Stephon Diggs is going to be for this upcoming season because there's off-the-field issues. So now Stephon Diggs is no longer there. I think they tried to rework the contract. I saw this speculation on social media where it was, oh, my God, Stephon Diggs unfollowed the Patriots on social media. And then some people said, we don't even know if the Patriots are ever following him or he was ever unfollowing the Patriots. But Stephon Diggs is out. Here's the reality situation. Stephon Diggs, folks, on the field, did good things for the Patriots this year. He helped develop and get the best out of Drake May. But as the season did go on, especially in the postseason, Stephon Diggs wasn't at his best. Stephon Diggs at times will show you that he still could be a number 1 wide receiver in this league. But he's kind of an in-betweener now. He's kind of like a 1.5, where there'll be days where he looks like a number 2. There'll be days that he looks more like a number 1. If I had to pick, is he more of a number 1 or a number 2 moving forward? It would be a number 2 in the NFL with him getting up there in age. But there's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of off-the-field stuff that's very uncomfortable, and I don't know what's true or not with Stephon Diggs. Like, he got broken up. I know there's more serious things, but then he gets broken up with during the Super Bowl because one of his baby mamas there with the kid. Like, there's always drama with Stephon Diggs, and then there's some horrific allegations about Stephon Diggs as well. You kind of got the sense after the season ended that Stephon Diggs in New England was going to be one and done, and then boom, Jordan Schultz just reported that the Patriots are releasing Stephon Diggs. Now, a few things for the Pats moving forward. I would be all on board for Alec Pierce. All on board. I don't think he's a number 1, but I would be fine giving him $25 million a year. You got to go trade for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown or Brian Thomas Jr. Those would be 2 names that I would feel comfortable giving up a first-round pick to go get. I love what Brian Thomas Jr. did in his first year. The second year, maybe he's just not a fit with Liam Cohen. But go on out there and get a legitimate number one weapon for Drake May. And who would check those boxes? Absolutely A.J. Brown. I think Brian Thomas Jr. could check those boxes as well. So it can't just be, all right, just go sign Alec Pierce. He's not a number one. I think Alec Pierce is a heck of a number 2 wide receiver, and I think he's got a lot more better football in front of him. But the Pats need to go on out there. Now with Stephon Diggs being off the team, the Patriots not being able to figure out the contract, Stephon Diggs gets released by the Patriots today. Now you need to go get a number 1 wide receiver. You can't just rest on, oh, they got to the Super Bowl. This team has a whole lot of work that they need to do. Go sign Alec Pierce and then go trade for either A.J. Brown or Brian Thomas Jr., and I'll be very happy with the way that this offseason did go for the New England Patriots. All right, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports. Tomorrow, we will get into the top 5 destinations for Kyler Murray. We'll get into the top 5 destinations also for Max Crosby, but we got to answer the poll question. Where will Kyler Murray be playing this season? Vikings, Jets, Falcons, or Browns? I think the 2 most likeliest destinations are the Vikings and the Jets. I think the most likeliest destination are the Minnesota Vikings. I think Kyler wants to go to Minnesota. Duh. The question is, do the Minnesota Vikings want him? If Kyler is willing to take a minimum contract or a very minuscule contract, which I think he should want to salvage his career, Minnesota makes the most sense. You get Kevin O'Connell, you get Justin Jefferson, go save your career, go to Minnesota. If it's not Minnesota, though, I then, out of this list, would personally want to go to Atlanta. Easy peasy division. You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London, and you also got Kyle Pitts now on the franchise tag. I just don't know if the Falcons are going to go make that move. The Jets need a quarterback. I could see the Jets being interested in him, but if you're Kyler Murray, you're really going to go to the Jets over the Vikings? I don't think you will. And Cleveland, there's so many different rumors. You have Shedeur Sanders who's there right now. Could it be Malik Willis? Could it be Anthony Richardson? I don't think Kyler Murray should entertain the Cleveland Browns. So here are the poll question results today. Where will Kyler Murray be playing this season? 36% say the Vikings, 29% say the Jets, 23% say the Falcons, and then 12% say the Cleveland Browns. And I believe he'll be the next quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. But if Aaron Rodgers just so happens to sign in Minnesota, then maybe it's the Jets or maybe it's the Falcons. Good show today. Big thanks to Matthew Coller from PurpleInsider.com for joining us. Big thanks to Andrew Valade. Big thanks to Garrett Ross. But most importantly, big thanks to each and every one of you. Give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram, why don't you? At Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. Also get me on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. But also YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. You like the latest episode of The Zach Gelb Show, and then you also subscribe. Please do us a favor. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Alex Caravan is going to join us from the UConn basketball team, and we got a few more surprises up our sleeve as the Zach Gelb Show is here live on 365 Sports, Monday through Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time. We will talk to you tomorrow, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.